Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, season's over, folks. That's all, folks. We're going to do something we haven't done on here before. So I tweeted out the link to come backstage here on the show. I'm going to get in a couple of points. I'm sure there's going to be enough talking back and forth over the course of the show to make my points. So I won't linger on them too long, but I want you guys to sound off. I know how I feel about it. And again, I'll let y'all know how I feel about it over the course of the show, but I know how I feel about it. The Lakers playoff run ended a couple rounds too early, and I think they have themselves to blame. I wrote about Rob Pelinka and the role that he played in this by not going out and getting a better center whenever Anthony Davis asked for it. I wrote about Austin Reeves' struggles in this series. I was concerned about JJ Redick being a rookie coach coming into the postseason. We've seen that come to pass. So I'm going to try to balance my own thoughts with the super comments that are going to come in, with you guys sounding off as well. My one request is, if you're going to come on the show, I need you to have a solid internet connection, because I can't do this thing where it's like, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? I can't do that because I don't want to spend 3 hours editing this episode. So I have a solid internet connection, Wi-Fi only, and have your devices all turned on before I go to you. So as an example, right now there's Lurker right now, and there's Ed right now. Lurker has his mic turned off. Both guys have their cameras turned off. I can't go to you if I don't have that ready to go. So if you guys want to come on stage, get your devices ready to be able to come on stage, and I will go to you. But I do want to make this work. I do want you guys to be able to sound off on this season ending right now. Obviously far too early. So with all of that out of the way, quick reminder, subscribe, rate, review, all of that good stuff. We have a crazy offseason ahead of us, a longer offseason than we were obviously hoping for going into it. But we have a crazy offseason ahead of us. The Lakers clearly have a lot that they need to figure out in a very short amount of time to be able to figure that out. So almost anything is on the table with this upcoming offseason. So maybe we'll touch on that over the course of the show as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive on into it. I'm going to start with a couple of quick thoughts on the game and on how it played out, how it started, how it finished, some of the guys who played in the game, some of the guys who didn't, and we'll get through this together. First and foremost, Maxi Kleber playing in an elimination game after not playing NBA basketball since January. I'm not going to go all the way as far as maybe I want to go right now, but that's damn near fireable. Damn near fireable. When you don't play your starting center for the entirety of the game, and not only do you bring Maxi Kleber in earlier in the game, but Kleber came in with 5 minutes left to go in the season, while Rudy Gobert is out there having a wilt game. JJ Redick decides, all of you haters who have been calling him out for whatever we have been calling him out for. We're the idiots. Here's Maxi Kleba. I'm going to make a point here. Awful coaching. Awful. And the way that the Lakers approached this game early on, to me, indicated that they didn't believe in this guy. They were just like strolling around out there. It was unbelievable how quickly the Lakers got down double digits in this game. And Raj said something in the lounge. I hope I'm not betraying any secrets here, but Raj said something in the lounge Slack the other day. It was like, I can't believe he didn't say he messed up by not making any subs in the second half of game 4. That was an easy win for him to come out and be like, you know what? I tried something different. I shouldn't have. I still have faith in these guys. I hope they still have faith in me. Instead, JJ Redick treated it like your typical douchebag who was like, yeah, I did it. You're an idiot for judging me. Like, what? He storms out of the press conference today because he got another question about it. He's handled criticism all season really poorly. And I think it culminated tonight with hearing that criticism and being like, no, fuck you, idiots. I'm not playing that guy. Meanwhile, Rudy Gobert is having the game of his life, the literal game of his life. And it leads to the Lakers losing this one. And look, Austin Reeves had the worst game of his career. I don't think he will ever have a worse game than he did tonight, unless he plays Minnesota in the playoffs again next year. But I don't think he'll ever have a game this bad ever again. And even that kind of falls down the list of places I want to go to, because to me, the tone was set by a Lakers team based off of its approach to this game and the lack of desperation early in it. One, it has become way too easy for the Lakers to quit on coaches. They quit on Frank Vogel after winning a championship. They quit on Darvin Ham after making it to the Western Conference Finals. And now here they quit on JJ Redick, in my opinion, after one game. After one bad playoff game. The Lakers all kind of waltzed into this game and were ready for Cancun by the end of the first quarter. Fortunately for them, the Wolves played one of their worst games of the series. They shot like shit, like from 3-point range, 7 of 47 from 3-point range for the Timberwolves tonight. They turned the ball over 11 times. They did grab 11 or 18 offensive rebounds again, which helped keep them in it mathematically. Anthony Edwards was nothing to write home about. 15, 9 or 15, 11, and 8. Played great defense, but overall, like it wasn't like oh my God, Anthony Edwards just ripped this series out of their hearts. No, the Lakers lied down. They lied down, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that their rookie coach, this dude who has never coached a NBA season before in his life, showed all of them up. And then when he was asked about showing them up, decided that was the time to play the douchebag, and it didn't work out. I think I'm going to leave that there and basically throw to you guys, because there are a lot of people who are waiting to go live here. I'm going to start with the first live camera that I see here, and see how this pans out. So go live. I'm going to go to you. You ready? Give me a nod if you're ready to go. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, Anthony? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. What's your name, sir?
Oh, yeah, Gary.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much for
long
hopping
time
on.
listener, man, from Locked On Laker days. But
Oh man, I'm sorry.
actually, I'm kind of glad the season's over. The way this ended, I just can never remember a time watching the Lakers look so hapless, like a kindergarten team trying
Yeah,
to, play on a gymnasium or something with Rudy Gobert.
it looked like you know that kid who gets like held back a year. You like there's like a kid who like didn't learn how to share in kindergarten. And he gets held back, and he's already like 6'3" in fourth grade, and the
I
rest of the
mean,
guys are like,
when,
"What do we
when the
do?"
Lakers, when did we ever play like this? I mean, God, that's not sustainable. What the hell? But yeah, but you're so
What do we
right.
do here with JJ Redick? Like, what do we do here with JJ Redick? Because that's
Yeah,
honestly to me, I think
it's
he's
tough.
not going anywhere. I'm not claiming
Yeah,
that he should be fired. I don't think he's going to be fired. But what do we do with the math on JJ Redick this year?
it's tough because one of the big things to improve is admitting your mistakes. And if
Yeah,
you can't see that mistake that happened on Sunday, I'm like, wow, I don't know. I think he's got to add an offensive coordinator to his staff at the very least. I
yeah,
mean, obviously, way out coached by Finch and what's the other guy's name? Mika Dory or somebody.
yeah. Mike and Ori.
Yeah, they really X and O JJ. They said, okay, Lakers going to probably double down on their with laser lineups, so they had the adjustment ready for them. JJ and staff had no counter to that game set match. That was uh,
What do you think of the first entry into Lakers postseason lore for Luka Doncic?
I was laughing at the Lakers like they gave Rob the extension like he's like all king almighty.
Hey,
He's president
did
now.
you notice that that he wasn't courtside?
He
He
was
wasn't doing interviews? Do you notice that?
we'll probably have to see him at Disneyland. He probably won't appear till like September. So, where's Waldo? Uh,
I couldn't believe how quickly the Lakers. I look on one hand, it's like you kind of have to. The guy is acquired LeBron. He played a role. Like he was
yeah,
standing there next to Magic when they acquired LeBron, and then he actually pulled off the trade after Magic kind of bungled the negotiations for Anthony Davis. He put together the roster to win it. So he got the extension. He earned his extension off of that
right.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But to so quickly, and it was so clear that Jeannie Buss, who does not want to fire him, was like, "We got to do this now. We got to do this now. There's no way this ages poorly."
Oh yeah,
Gary, would
she
you
even
say it
like
aged
appeared on
poorly?
NBA TV like 10 days ago, did a whole sit down interview,
Yeah,
before the playoffs started. Well, yeah, like you said, Rob probably made the Lakers net worth like up to by 25-30% with that one trade with Lucas. So yeah, on the business side, you got to do it. But yeah, I don't know. Suddenly we are at a crossroads with a lot of things. I don't know.
yeah. It's going to be a fascinating offseason. Before I let you go here, I'll let you sound off on that. What's the one thing that you're hoping for from this offseason?
A playable big man with a promise from JJ to play said
To
big
actually
man.
play him?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you very much for hopping on, man. I really appreciate it. You saying that you been listening since the Locked On years. That
Oh
means a
yeah.
lot. I really appreciate it. Go Lakers, right?
All right, bro. Peace.
All right. That was great. First entry. I almost feel like I should stop while I'm ahead. That was perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for from everybody. If y'all have hotter takes, that's fine too. Like that's perfectly fine. I just get really nervous throwing to people with internet connections and stuff like that. Jason Kelly is the next person I'm going to bring on stage here, who I see with a working camera. So let's see how this goes. Jason, are you JK Productions?
I am, yeah.
Hey, thank you very
Yeah,
much for hopping on.
it's interesting. The last time I talked to you when you were at Silver Screen and Roll.
Okay.
And I came on your show in this type of format, and I asked you if you ever thought that the Lakers would win another championship with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. Well, specifically with Jeannie Buss as the owner of the team. And I think that, and this is a term I use in my super chats a lot, that there is an institutional rot at the
Yeah.
core of the Lakers foundation that cannot be overcome until that is gone. And we both know that's not going anywhere. So, like, I just feel, DFS is going to be a year older. LeBron, I think, is a great player, but with how deep and young the NBA is, I'm not sure that he can be a guy that takes a max calorie slot and you have a team that wins a championship for a couple of reasons. One, you have to be a great regular season team. He's going to be 41 years old. I think you have to be a good regular season team to win a championship. And two, it just takes too much of the slot. It just takes too much of the slot for other positions. And the Lakers, because of the Russell Westbrook trade, still are suffering from that. And so when you have catastrophic decisions, like JJ had a catastrophic series, he deserves to be fired,
Oof.
or the entire roster has to be changed, because how can you expect these players to come back next season after what JJ did in these playoffs and trust him as their head coach? Like, how can you expect them to do that? And
Could you
so,
imagine if
you know,
like
when
Jackson
I'm
Hayes is available for the veteran minimum? Could you just imagine like Jackson's like, hey, Jax, I know you might have other options. He's cost himself at least, I would say, 8 or 9 mil next year would be my guess. But could you just like, hey, Jax, do you think you want to come?
totally.
Why would, if you're a center, to Gary's point a second ago, if you're a center, at any point is JJ just going to lose faith in you because he's so dogmatic about small ball?
Well, it's not just if you're a center, if you're a player. It's not just the center position. I look at Gabe, I look at Jared Vanderbilt. This isn't restricted to the center position. And so you either have to change the roster and bring in a whole bunch of new guys, or you have to can JJ. Because if you let this stand in the way that it is going into next season, it's just another version of institutional rot. When you have awful decisions made, heads have to roll, or else your organization doesn't progress or grow. And somebody's head needed to roll for the Russell Westbrook trade. Somebody's head needs to roll for this. And I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I think that the rot starts at the top. And the best case scenario, as a LeBron fan, kind of more so than a Lakers fan, the best case scenario for LeBron is, because I want to see him win championships, is to leave the Lakers and take a mid-level at another team. And if he's not willing to do that, then I think he's kind of ceding his championship window as a player. If he's not willing to do that, because he's not the guy that can take a team. You need young, fresh power. You need the Thunder. You need the Celtics from last year. You need the Timberwolves, frankly. And so I don't see the Lakers winning another championship with LeBron James at a max salary spot. And I don't see the Lakers winning another championship with Jeannie Buss as the owner, to be honest with you.
Quick question
I've said that for 5 years. And go ahead.
I want to ask you this, because I can relate to this. Are you going out for a walk right now for the sake of
Yes,
just getting out of the house?
I listen to your podcast on runs after games because I'm so frustrated and so mad that I just crank out miles just because I'm just ticked off and I want to let go of energy.
The reason I asked this, I was so, if I wasn't paid to do this stuff, if I didn't have to like sit in front of my TV, I am normally that kind of guy. I would normally leave my house, watch the game on my phone, and just walk around my neighborhood, because it's easier for me to just deal with reality for some reason outside of my house than it is to have to have to sit here in the muck. And I totally understand where you're coming from. I just, I saw the lights kind of going over your head and stuff like that, and I totally get it. But now I want to go back to the rot aspect of this, and this is where like I talked a lot between games 4 and 5 about the notion of going into the idea of like going through a process, talking to your assistant coaches, having veteran assistant coaches. Nate McMillan's on that staff. Scotty Brooks is on that staff. Those guys are sitting there and having those guys come back to you and be like, no, actually, JJ, it's a good idea to not play anybody else in the second half. That's a good call. And if you arrive there, then that's stuff falling through the cracks, right? Because to me, if a head coach is actually, or an assistant coach is actually invested in what is best for the team and the outcome of that series and all of that stuff, they pull JJ aside and they fight tooth and nail. Remember, Jerry West famously with the Golden State Warriors at the peak of their powers was like, if you trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, I'm out. Right? I am gone. And for no assistant coach to step up and be like, if you do this, I will quit. Right? And nobody has quit since. So we know that isn't actually the case. That to me is stuff falling through the cracks. And for nobody in the organization heading into the season to be like, hey, AD is telling us he wants to play a little bit less center. Not that he wants to move off of center altogether, but he wants to play a little bit less center. Maybe we should employ a better center than a Christian Wood, who never played at any point this season, and Jackson Hayes, who couldn't be trusted to play 5 minutes in an elimination game. That stuff fallen through the cracks. And to the point that you were making earlier, Jason, about organizational rot and stuff like that, when Rob got his, remember, it's an extension and it's a promotion. He's president of basketball operations. When he got that extension and promotion, the one thing I was looking for was, hey, can we get the guy a GM? It's not taking anything away from him. He becomes the boss of whatever GM they hire. Can we bring somebody in who sets him aside and sets JJ aside and is like, hey, there's a chance we might play Minnesota in the first round, and we might go into that Minnesota series with Jackson Hayes, Alex Len, and Maxi Kleba, who hasn't played since January, as our fucking center rotation. Maybe, just maybe, it's a good idea to employ a 7-footer. Convert Koloko, convert Jamison. Dante DiVincenzo was taking cheap shots at the Lakers up and down the court today. At no point did any other Lakers step up and be like, hey, man, nothing. He cheap shotted Luka. There was no squabble after that. He cheap shots LeBron. There was no squabble after that. That was the second one. Where's Jemison would have fought him on the spot. And I'd be like, money well spent. I'd fire up a GoFundMe for whatever fines he would incur. And that's it. And to your point earlier, Jason, about like, you know, the importance of those margins and that organizational rot, like it starts at the top, and that cabal at the top, like it you know, you can swap out LeBron for AD and AD for Luka, and we can keep on doing this till Kingdom Come, and maybe they'll win occasionally under absolute perfect circumstances. But I don't really trust this organization to do what is necessary to actually supply Luka and LeBron with the type of talent that it's going to take to compete at the level they should.
Well, and this is the best LeBron's going to be. Yep, like he's making $50 million this year. I have a hard time believing he's going to be better at year 41. If DFS is going to be a part of the rotation, he's only getting older. Why should we expect it to be any better next year when players that are taking that much of our cap are only going to get worse? And to be honest, I don't trust Luka's health either, because I don't think he respects the game of basketball. You have to respect your body if you respect the game of basketball. I'd take the next 5 years, and I know you disagree with me on this, but I'd take the next years of Giannis' health over Luka health, simply because Giannis respects his body in the game of basketball. And I get that Giannis has had some kind of freak injuries, but I would rather take a bet on somebody that clearly takes care of their body. If Luka doesn't show up at 230 pounds next season and muscle, like, I just don't know where you go with him, especially if you're spending $50 million on a 41-year-old LeBron James. Like, I don't see this working, man, but I really appreciate you having me on, and I've been listening to you for years, and you're just such a big part of my life. So, and I started my own podcast covering the UNLV Running Rebels and basketball in Vegas, and I modeled it off of your show. So I do shows just like you do, and I modeled it all after you. So thank you so much for that, Anthony. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for hopping on, Jason. I wonder right now if the cardio that Jason was doing during that segment right there, if that was more cardio than Luka might do this entire offseason. I wonder what the ratio there could possibly be. I'm going to keep these things going. KM, I'm going to bring you on stage here. KM, what's your first name there, bud?
Cody.
Cody?
Yeah.
Hey, Cody, how's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
You know, I'm dealing. I'm coping. We're all getting through this together. What are your thoughts on anything? Where do you want to take this conversation?
I think maybe just taking a deep breath.
Okay.
I think that I have a lot of issues with how JJ, his decision with playing those five guys last 24 minutes. I have a lot of issues with a lot of stuff that he did this postseason. Also, though, I think the Lakers were 14th in offense, 17th in defense since the Luka trade, and I think we just had a little bit too high expectations.
Okay.
And it just, we made a really nice trade. We had a extremely poor roster. It was just, I just don't think there was ever a way we were going to beat this Minnesota team. They were just much bigger than us. They were better than us. They're more athletic than us. Just like everything down the line, you know. So like, yeah, everybody's probably a little angry right now, but if you just like take a deep breath, like I think this is probably just how the season was going to end. We made that massive Luka trade and the roster was just not what it needed to be. And I think they kind of knew that, right? I think we all kind of knew that, no?
Well, that's where it's tough because on one hand, you're correct that you trade for Luca after essentially making the decision, whether it's conscious or subconscious, to ride out the string with LeBron and AD. Would you agree with me on that? That appeared to be the way that things were going?
I mean, I think nothing matters. You just make that Luka trade.
Well, no. I'm saying that like before coming into the season, they sat out 2 straight transaction windows. Remember how angry we were
Yeah,
at the fact
correct,
that like
correct.
they didn't even open up a roster spot for the likes of Gary Trent Jr., right? Who
Yeah, I mean, I would argue against that. Just like again, I just don't think that that team was ever going to do anything anyways, too.
but that's my
And I think
point.
that they knew that. Okay,
That's my point is that they
okay.
felt that same way. And then the Luca thing falls in their lap and they have to build a contender. They have to build that plane mid-flight, right?
Yeah. But I mean, if
And
you recall, they only had like what, a couple days to do that?
yeah. Yeah, I mean they had enough time to for the Mark Williams thing. And
Which I think Mark Williams, sorry for interrupting.
yeah,
I think Mark Williams might not even play this series.
I don't know if JJ Redick would play Wilt at this point. So
Well,
I'm kidding.
maybe.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But like so my point is more that like it have you ever owned an older car?
Mm, I can go with you here. Sure.
So when you own an older car, my dad owned like an old 57 Valiant, Chrysler Valiant when I was growing up. And I always used to wonder like why is he running out to warm up the car? We grew up in Orange, California, or Orange County in Southern California. It wasn't particularly cold. And I always wondered, like, why is my dad running out there to warm up this car? And obviously, you do that because you can't take an older car going from standstill overnight in whatever weather to going on the 91 freeway and or wherever it was that dad was getting ready to go. And I think that's kind of where this roster kind of sat at the time of the Luka trade was
Hmm.
they got caught and the old car, which to your point with a 40-year-old LeBron James, that old roster, that old car was getting ready to just kind of call it a night. That was it. Like there was, whatever happened with the season would happen and whatever. And I think they were kind of surprised by the impact that Dorian Finney-Smith made on the team.
Hmm.
And then they made the Luka trade. And I think this result that we're sitting in right now is what happens when an organization undersells its talent coming into a season. Because I still believe, and I will go down in my grave. This will be on my tombstone. I still believe that LeBron and AD had one more run left in them. And the Lakers didn't feel that way. And as a result of them not feeling that way, that's how you go into a postseason with just Jackson Hayes as your center. And yeah, I'm with you. Take a deep breath. I know people think I'm calling for JJ Redick to be fired. I'm really not. It doesn't make any sense to fire him here. I am a little nervous because I don't know if there's too much of a track record of coaches having that bad of a series to being great, but we're also in completely uncharted territory with JJ being a first-time head coach. I'm
So
with you. Take a deep breath, figure some stuff out, but it also needs to be said that because of the approach to this season, they wasted the first potential run or one of only 2 or 3 runs they might have had with Luka and LeBron. I think all of that can be true at the same time.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say
Go for it.
is, a one glass half full with JJ Redick. I mean, I really like the hire. I'm pretty disappointed with this postseason, obviously. But his guy Joe Mazzulla, everybody wanted him to get fired too. I don't know if you recall, Bill
Oh yeah,
Simmons.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So
Mhm.
maybe things turn around. He had a rough series. Maybe next
That's
season
a good
he'll
example.
grow from this. So, yeah. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think look, if there's one thing, JJ is very aware of online conversation, and I do think that like there's a lot for him writing on this too. His personal business, his media company, his show, his podcast, it'll never be the same if he exits coaching the Lakers in shame, right? So I think he's really going to come back a lot better next year. I think one thing that the Lakers are really going to have to completely rethink their approach to, and this is something that JK and I have talked about via super comment before, but the Lakers are going to have to completely rethink their hiring practices when it comes to assistant coaches. And you look at all of these great teams around the league right now, they all have elite tier assistant coaches on their staff. And the fact that the Lakers have an assistant coach or a first time coach in JJ Redick at the helm and not the absolute best, it's just not a very good. And this is something I said at the beginning of the season and maintained over the course of the season. Their assistant coaching staff just isn't where it kind of needs to be. They're going to have to rethink their hiring practices. They're going to have to pay more. They're going to have to ensure more stability. They're going to have to do some things a little bit differently. But no, I I'm not going so far as to say that next year is a lost cause too. So to your point about taking a deep breath, being a little optimistic here moving forward, I think there's value in that take, and I respect it, even if I still believe this was a pretty big missed opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and play the swoosh sound just because it brings me joy. Thank you, everybody. Look, we're 3 for 3. Look at us go. Now we have Jay, we have LeBron. I kind of want to bring LeBron on stage. See how that goes. Just to see like how this goes and see what his thoughts on the series are. LeBron James, welcome to you look different. You look very
Oh yeah, I got a quick haircut after the game.
you grew hair. That's not a haircut. You grew hair.
I took a trip to Turkey.
How's it going, LeBron? How you feel? Well, what's your actual name? I'm not gonna call you LeBron.
Brandon.
Brad?
Brandon. Sorry.
Brandon. All right. So, Brandon, how you feeling about the Lakers? How you feeling about the series? Sound off, bud.
Oh man, I feel like it was for sure a bit disappointing. I was expecting a little different coming in, but I feel like it really exposed like some stuff that I don't know for sure if it will happen based on like Rob Pelinka, but hopefully we can make some big changes. I'm not like a crazy, like I would say basketball knowledger. So I really wanted to ask you, like, does this series and like how it played out, like, would you think the Lakers will explore like Austin Reeves trade options for like a 5, or what do you think the trade options will be kind of centered around here, trying to rebuild around Luka and LeBron?
So I wrote about Austin today, this morning, and I wrote about he has an extension that he can sign for 4 years, $90 million. That, to the best of my knowledge, the Lakers essentially are just going to slide across the table to him, see what happens. I think it's below market value, but this series was also really eye-opening. And then for it to end the way that it did, right, where he has the game from hell. 5 of 14 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3-point range. Was a -9 on the game, 12 points, 5 boards, only a couple assists, 6 turnovers in this game. Just completely outmatched physically and athletically in this game. Would I entertain or would I consider trading him? I think it's something that the Lakers have to seriously consider. And that's not something I ever would have said coming into the series. I don't want to overreact to this because I think Minnesota is a particularly bad matchup for him. I was thinking about this. The smallest defender on Minnesota's team is Mike Conley.
Yeah.
And Mike Conley was allowed to just straight up mug Austin every time he had the ball.
Yeah.
And look, credit to Mike. He was like, you know what? I'm old as shit. I'm just going to foul my ass off. And if you call it, whatever. If you don't, cool. And they didn't call it, right? He set the tone early in the series. And every single time he had Austin in isolation, you would watch it. He would just go up there and he would slap Austin on the arms. Austin was reluctant to swing through and really attack him. And he put him on his back feet. And that was Minnesota's worst perimeter defender.
Yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo was bigger and more athletic. He had his way with Austin on the perimeter. Anthony Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels, basically everybody, every guard / wing on that Minnesota team was able to just body up Austin, and he had no chance whatsoever on the perimeter. And if I'm the Lakers, it's like, I'm going to put the ball in Luka's hands anyway. We need more perimeter defense than we had in this series.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it makes sense to turn Austin, not necessarily into a center. I think that would be, I don't think there's a center on the market that is worth trading Austin Reeves for.
Yeah, that's also a question I was going to ask you. Like, if you were to have going into this offseason, like a couple centers that you'd be like for sure eyeing on that are like reasonable. Because I know with 3 days, like after the Luka trade, it was like 3 or 2 days until the end of the deadline.
It was tough.
Yeah, people are looking at like Robert Williams and stuff as kind of like a stopgap. But like now that you have a full off season here to kind of make something happen, like what kind of trades do you think?
So, excuse me, I personally would be looking to include Austin for a star.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like I think we kind of saw that the LeBron Luka thing, unless they come into this offseason, and look, honestly, aside from all of the personnel stuff, the biggest development, actually, I want to go to Gary on this too. Gary, I might bring you back on this, but the biggest development I think that the Lakers can possibly have this offseason isn't even necessarily personnel based. It's getting Luka and LeBron to coexist on a basketball court, coexist in a set, run something together. They tried to run a set together and they almost, it looked like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, just like banging heads together in a set. And it's like, and that's what happens if you don't run anything over the course of the regular season. Gary, I'm going to go back to you here, see if you're ready here. Gary, what do you think of the I'm not saying these things are mutually exclusive because the Lakers do need personnel improvements too. But what do you think about how little we saw Luka and LeBron interact together offensively this postseason?
Yeah, that
or all season, not just the postseason, but all season.
That's a great point. Part of it is just, you know, the time of the transaction happening mid-season. That's kind of, you know, late, you know, with two actually, you know, very big egocentric stars. That's a big ask. I don't think it's ever been done.
Yeah, no, it has not.
With two superstars of that magnitude. And that's the other point we made about, we both made, you made as well, about adding improving the coaching staff to quickly upskill the offense into, you know, more motion, and what Brandon's saying about having that big man have a vertical threat that would unlock, I think, a lot of things. So they have a lot of work to do. If LeBron's going to invite Luka to his Vegas summer camp, wherever it's going to be, you know, with some hookah afterwards, you know,
like,
I don't know.
Vegas? No, wait, not that Vegas? We're doing a different Vegas? Oh,
you know,
man.
All the hookah you can smoke after practice, after training section. But yeah,
I
they
remember
have a
I
lot
remember
of
the
work to
first
do.
trip to Vegas I took when I was in like my when I shifted from my early to mid 20s to my mid to late 20s, and the amount of time it took to recover from that trip in my mid to late 20s. And I feel like that's what we watched this entire series. Was Luca like, man, McDonald's anymore, huh? I can't do that. Shit. All right.
Oh, he's like, man, 24 minutes straight in one game. You know, that's a long time.
But yeah, but anyway, yeah, Brandon, I go back to the uses of Austin, because you can only trade Austin once, right? And that was the thing that the Lakers were hung up on when they were getting ready to trade D'Angelo Russell, was they could have only traded D'Lo once. And they said, once we pull that trigger, we cannot figure something else out. And they brought in Dorian. And I think on net, Dorian was a really good acquisition. My problem with it is he was then played out of position to an extent where we're rethinking that now. And to me, if the Lakers do move Austin, it has to be an absolute grand slam move. Because if you miss this one, because Austin is going to be on a $12-ish million contract next year, which is well below market value. He has a player option at the following year, so if something goes really, really wrong, you even have some protection there. You could sign him to this extension and make him even more cost controlled if he does accept it. I don't think he will, but you can offer it. If you do trade Austin, and I would really prefer the Lakers don't, because in my opinion, I would rather see the Lakers figure out a way to more consistently and repeatably and sustainably utilize Austin's skill set, LeBron's skill set, and Luka's skill set. That was the thing that was supposed to make them so special this offseason, or this postseason. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter tonight, and that's just not enough. Anything else? Any other takes there, Brandon?
Oh no, I think I'm all good. Thank you so much, by the way. I just basically pretty much just started watching basketball this year, and I remember I started watching your
Tough year.
Twitter videos. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like right now we have like a before and then after taking up basketball meme right here between where it's like you like look so fresh. It's like, man, this was tough. That's a tough loss. And I'm like, yeah, welcome everybody here to the show. No, but thank you very much, guys, for hopping on, and Gary, for your second time on. I appreciate it.
Peace, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I am going to go ahead and dive on into some of the super comments. We have a few of those, which means I get to play. This is why I look like this. Whoops. All right. Justin Tyndall writes, Bus and Pelinka pumped out their chest after the Luka trade, and its results in one playoff win, a home playoff loss. Ant goes 0 of 11 from 3-point range in said loss. Yeah. I think, myself included, I belong in this conversation too. I think a lot of people started running victory laps way too early. I remember even at the time I said that if the Lakers were to somehow win a championship, they would do so with the worst starting center in the history of the postseason, in Jackson Hayes. That wound up being almost too right, as the Lakers decided that was the case too and stopped playing him in this game. But I do think but it's also tough because they beat the Thunder, and I thought we're on their way to beating the Thunder again before Luka got thrown out of that game. They looked incredible right after the trade, before some guys went down. I don't think they ever really regained their footing consistently to what they looked like right after the trade, which, okay, maybe that was some fool's gold in, getting the immediate adrenaline rush from the trade. But at the end of the day, it's like they aren't as good as I think Minnesota is, and as bad as this series played out for various important parties in the Lakers organization. I never would have envisioned losing in the first round. Even in this game, the Lakers had opportunities to win this thing. But if Austin doesn't play the game from hell, the Lakers are probably up double digits going into the fourth quarter. It's just, and we can drive ourselves crazy about this all off season now. But if this doesn't happen, then this, and if this doesn't happen, then we're having a different cover. But the reality is that shit happened. This series happened. And this is something that Rob, on his brand new extension, kind of needs to answer for. Just like, how did you think going into a season where you already employ LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the idea that the Lakers were going to ride out the string with those two guys is offensive, was always offensive to me. And the Lakers made the decision that they were just going to ride out the string with those two guys. And that led to not employing an actual center that JJ Redick would trust. And I think he cast that mistrust poorly with Jackson. I'm not even the biggest Jackson Hayes fan. I can't believe I have to sit here and say nice things about Jackson Hayes. That shit sucks too. Anyway, like the idea that the Lakers would come into a season with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and say to themselves, it's okay that they sat out the previous trade deadline. They sat out the transaction window throughout the offseason before this. Their key addition to the roster was Dalton Knecht, who didn't play in this series. Then you make this Luka trade, and it's like, oh, fuck, shoot, man, we have to actually compete. Damn, all right, we got to find somebody. Mark Williams, how's your back look? Oof, terrible. All right, well, we can't do that. Now we're stuck. And that's the other part of this is like, you already are fleecing the Mavericks for Luka. How are you not willing to throw an extra asset in there to go out and get a Gafford? How is Maxi Kleba in his block foot the center that you go out and bring in too? It's just, because he's not even the archetype of the player that Luka needs. They need a Gobert. They need a better Jackson Hayes. They need a Robert Williams. They need, like, I saw the betting odds on Brook Lopez's next team, and it's the Lakers. That's not what they need. They need somebody who can jump way up above the rest of the defense and get themselves some easy points that way. Keep the defense honest that way. They were running short roll stuff for Gabe Vincent today. Huh? It was just, and again, JJ is coaching this game in the way that he would like to be able to coach it without acknowledging the team that he's actually coaching. And that honestly is the biggest thing from his perspective that he's going to have to improve on, is understanding, yeah, I also would love to coach the Redeem team night in, night out. But no NBA coach gets to coach the perfect team. You have to make do with the team that you actually have. And if your answer to making do is Maxi Kleba, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at that guy the same unless he has an insane career. Let's go to some of the free comments here just to see where you guys are at on this. Jefferson, sorry, man, this sucks. George Santiago, appreciate you for the coverage and the work this season. I'm not going to give my thank yous tonight. I'm a little too heated. and I'm tired, and it's 1:00 already my time. I am going to come back and spend a little bit more time on the thank yous and all that stuff, and maybe give you guys a preview on some of the stuff that we're working on here at Odyssey between the 3 shows that we've talked about, mine, LFR, and Yovan's. But no, shouts to you guys for being as incredible as you were this season, and this offseason is going to be one to remember too. So we'll get into that as well. Justin Tyndall wrote, Wolves play hard and we pick and choose. Honestly, man, that is a great comment. That is such a great comment. The fact that the Lakers in the first quarter just started the game essentially in a double-digit deficit told me that there still remains that corrosive disrespect for what it takes to win basketball games in the NBA. And for them to be like, you think about it, there's a 5-game series. In 40% of the series, the Lakers started the game unseriously, without proper give a bleep, discipline, rotations, etc. 40% of the series started that way. And yeah, like Minnesota came into this. Anthony Edwards said it coming into this into the series. He was looking forward to being the underdog and being doubted and all of that stuff. And Minnesota took it to heart. Every single expert on ESPN took the Lakers to win this series. And Minnesota is made us all look like complete morons for disregarding size, physicality, athleticism, and give a bleep. And I thought the Lakers were severely lacking in the series in give a bleep. Marley Villasenor writes, and by the way, if you guys are still looking for ways to pop into the chat, I think I posted the link to be able to join me up on stage here in the comments. If not, it's on my Twitter, so you can find it there. But Marley Villasenor writes, thanks for a great season, Anthony. Enjoyed listening to you all year. I will say give JJ grace as Jackson. Being your only center is just not ideal. Jackson would not swing this in the Lakers' favor. Well, the Lakers lost by what? 6? Yeah. Oh, no, 7. 103-96. Do I think Jackson would have swung this game? No. Do I think the complete overreaction to Jackson making some mistakes here and there and Jackson not being a better center? So this is a thing that happens a lot of times. I'm a big TV buff and media buff. I love movies. I love TV. I love music. I love food. I love all of that stuff. And I take in a lot of content reviewing music, TV, etc., or music, TV, food, locations, etc. And one of the things that TV critics and movie critics have to stop themselves from is criticizing a show for not being the show that they think it should be, and criticizing a show or evaluating a show for what it actually is. And I think what we saw in this series was JJ Redick losing his ever bleeping mind and holding it against Jackson Hayes that he isn't the center that JJ would prefer. And I think what that led to was a complete and utter physical mismatch, unlike the likes we've seen, frankly, in all of our times. You saw Gary say it. We as Lakers fans are not used to rooting for the smaller team. We had Mikan. We had Kareem. We had Shaq. We had Powell and Bynum and Odom. We had AD and Dwight and JaVale. We are used to being the big, hulking, I'm going to kick your ass en route to whatever series win that we need to. That's what we're used to. And then to have that whiplash take place the way that it did and have a head coach. So again, and I keep using the term dogmatically, meaning religiously, ignore the benefits of size inside for the sake of guys who don't space the floor. It felt like Darvin. The series that JJ Redick just coached right now, if Darvin Ham had that series, we'd all be calling for his head. The only reason that we're not is because we got sick of Darvin and we were happy for this regular season that JJ wasn't Darvin. But we also now know that JJ is capable of this series. So this is always going to sit in the math on JJ from here on out. And yeah, I am going to give him some grace, but it's hard to because that's not the situation he was hired into. If JJ Redick was undergoing the learning process of coaching some tanking or rebuilding team, I'd sit here and be like, okay, all right, you learned, we're good. But that's not the situation he was hired into. He was hired to coach LeBron James, who was still capable of winning playoff games. And then eventually he was employed when the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic, who's a top 5 player normally. This series changes some of my math on that, but still, those are the expectations with those guys. And then for JJ Redick to sit here and be like, all right, I'm going to be better. Well, you fucking better be. If you're not, then the Lakers are screwed next year because now you have to fire somebody and hope that an interim coach is better than what the hell we just saw in this series. Laker Sean writes, Anthony, does this series make you regret passing on Mark Williams? To quote the philosopher Darius Soriano, yes and no. Yes, because the pieces and players that would have gone for Mark Williams weren't utilized in the series at all, that being Dalton Connect and then whatever draft capital. Those guys, those assets never helped the Lakers in this playoff series loss. So in that regard, yeah. On the other hand, or I guess while we're talking about that, I'm not positive that Williams wouldn't have just met the same end that Jackson Hayes did if he didn't get hurt. Because remember, his back is bleeped up. So I think mostly no. What I do regret is, again, coming into the season thinking that it was okay to just try to, we all watched how long this season we were just praying that Anthony Davis stayed healthy because there was no backup behind him. That's why we started liking Christian Koloko in the first place. So that to me is the bigger regret, is not taking LeBron and AD so seriously or seriously enough to invest in that roster, even to the extent of a feasible backup center, and then not converting Koloko and Jemison for the sake of saving some luxury tax bucks at the end of the season. Like, all of it sucked. Those I don't regret Mark Williams specifically. I regret the shit that led up to Mark Williams kind of tanking the season. Matthew writes, I do not trust Rob. And by the way, again, if you guys want to pop in here, I'll put the link in here again. Why not? But Matthew writes, I do not trust Rob to not do some insane overcorrection with this roster. I'm still better he blew up the championship roster. I mean, this is the thing with Rob. On one hand, he stood next to Magic and was there when LeBron decided he wanted to come to the Lakers. So he gets some credit for that. And he also pulled off the trade for Anthony Davis and then quickly rebounded after the Lakers didn't get Kawhi. Although it should be factored into that math, he didn't get Kawhi. That rebounding led to the championship that sits on his resume forever. I can't take that away from him. That was fantastic GMing or VPBOI or whatever it is that he was. He's a vice president of basketball operations at the time. So that sits on his resume, but also the Russ trade sits on his resume. Letting Alex Caruso walk for nothing sits on his resume. Extending Taylor Horton Tucker sits on his resume. Firing Frank Vogel sits on his resume. Hiring Darvin Ham sits on his resume. Maybe JJ Redick, depending on how that goes, is going to sit on his resume one way or the other. The point here being he traded for Luka, which again is always going to sit on his resume, but he also headed into a postseason with Jackson Hayes as his only center. That also sits there. So the thing with Rob is that this guy, there's a couple ways to get to a C grade, is how somebody's kind of explained this to me, who works closely with the Lakers. There's a couple ways to get to a C grade. You can either be or a B average. You can either just be steady and get straight B's and do what it takes to get straight B's, or you can oscillate between A and a C. Or there's only so many ways that you can get to a C average, right? You can oscillate. You can just get your straight C's, show up, do the bare minimum, pass whatever quizzes, walk away with a C. Cool. Or you can get some A's and some F's. And in this case, Rob is very much of the latter type, where it's like you're going to get some A's and you're going to get some F's. And ideally, the Lakers would hire a GM to bring that C average up to a B average, or supply Rob with enough tools to keep to bring that that F floor up to a B floor. So you're talking about a front office that grades out at a solid A. But until we get to that point, we're just kind of stuck, hoping that we get enough A moves before we get to the F moves so that the Lakers can compete at the level that we demand them to. Dudley Watson. The Pelicans didn't even want Jackson Hayes. Think about that. Matthew also asked, didn't he trade Zubats too, or was that Magic? That was both of them, but Magic was technically at the helm at the time of that trade. Let's see. Let's go back in here. Ryan Lucas, C. LeBron's no comment, just presser just now. Let's see. I'm looking for video of it so that we can maybe watch it together. I'm not seeing it. They're basically doing exit interviews right now so that the guys can go out and get on to get on their vacations. Let's see. Oh, is it this one? All right. I'm gonna play it. So LeBron is being asked by Jovan about not playing with a center. All right. I'm gonna all right. Sorry, I'm doing all of this live. I am producing the show myself. This might be one of the actually funnier things that LeBron said on the air. Let's download that. So LeBron is asked again by it sounds like Jovan about the Lakers' personnel decisions over the back half of the season, specifically not playing with a center, and gives a nice. You could see the math on his face while he's getting ready to say this. But the let's see, I'm gonna go present, and then I'm gonna go over here, video file. Here we go. All right, so here's LeBron.
Basically from mid-January on, right when AD got injured, you guys started playing a lot of centerless basketball, and that required a lot from you and Doe and Rui, and then Vando once he got back. Just from a physical, like, taxing standpoint, how tough was that for the last 3.5 months to play that style, and do you feel like that caught up at all in this series?
No comment. I'll never say that because my guy AD said what he needed, and then he was gone the following week. So I got no comment.
Oh man, I wonder what the Lakers do with that. How they feel about that. But yeah, I mean, like, look, end of the day, you're asking a 40-year-old LeBron to be the most imposing physical force on the Lakers roster against arguably the most physically imposing roster in the sport in this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And yeah, of course he's going to be a little frustrated, and he's going to, mouth off a little bit there with a snide comment. I don't blame him at all. I honestly share the sentiment. That was good. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Let's go with one final super comment here. We have, so Harrison is back in town. So Harrison and I, and maybe Raj, will do a show together tomorrow to send everybody off into their off seasons. I'll figure out a way to make the rest of this postseason watchable for the rest of us. We'll get through this together. But Alex Chavez writes, can't wait till Harrison is on here to react. Yeah. Yeah, so Harrison again is slated to come on tomorrow. I don't know if I'm even going to try to bug Raj. Like, he might be in actual morning tomorrow. So we'll see what his availability is, and if he and Harrison and I can figure out a way to all be together on the show at the same time. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I thought this was a lot better than me just kind of ranting into the microphone. I thought this was a lot more fun. Nico Harrison coming on the pod. It would be funny. Like, honestly, that's the move. If you're Nico Harrison and you watched Rob Pelinka give every fireside chat that he could, if you're Nico Harrison, you should probably do some Laker pods and be like, see, what did I tell you? You saw him. Fucking Luka, man, at the beginning of the game, before the back injury even happened, he was getting blown by. Like, that's going to have to improve. But anyway, yeah, the plan is for Harrison and I to be live tomorrow in the lounge. Raj, maybe also too. Probably going to catch up with Pete in the next week or so. And then we're working on something that I think you guys will be really excited about. So keep an eye out for that. And then yeah, this is going to be an abridged thank you, but I do want to send heartfelt, like fully sincere thank yous to Raj, to Harrison. Those guys, without those guys, this show would not be what it is now. Want to thank you to my bosses at Odyssey for picking up the slack and really changing the direction and the ceiling of what the show is capable of. I want to thank my family. It is difficult for my kids to see me the next day after shows like this, where I am just kind of tired and in a bit of a zombie the whole next day, because after this, you edit, you post, all that stuff. Jen, I love you so damn much. And yeah, I guess this means we are in the off season. So Fuck. Have a good one, everybody.